The lights went out at Berlin-Tegel Prison at exactly 2:17 a.m. Not slowly. Not with a warning. They went out all at once. The long hallway froze in black. Doors slammed. Boots ran. Someone screamed a short, sharp scream that ended too fast. A loud bang hit the walls, like metal crashing into metal. Then another. Then silence, so deep it felt heavy. Inside one cell, a man named Mike pressed his face to the bars, trying to see. He smelled smoke. He heard keys drop and slide across the floor. Somewhere close, a voice whispered, "It started." Then the alarms failed too. That was the moment everyone inside Tegel knew something had gone very wrong. Guards would later call it a mysterious incident. Prison reports would say technical failure. But inmates would say it was planned. They would say gangs had warned this night was coming. They would say the prison was no longer in control. And before the lights came back on, one man would vanish without a trace. No camera footage. No clear witness. Just an empty cell. But how did a prison in the heart of Germany's capital reach a night like this? And who really ran Berlin-Tegel long before the darkness fell? Long before the blackout, Tegel already had a reputation. From the outside, the prison looked calm. Grey walls. Watchtowers. Clean roads nearby. Cars passed by like nothing dangerous lived behind those gates. But inside was another world. Berlin-Tegel Prison held men from all over Germany. Most came from Berlin. Others were transferred from Hamburg and Frankfurt. Different cities. Different streets. Different rules. They were packed together. And when men with different rules share the same space, power decides who survives. The guards tried to control everything. They had schedules. Count times. Cameras. Rules posted on every wall. But rules only work if people follow them. Inside Tegel, gangs followed their own rules. They didn't wear signs or colors. They didn't need to. Everyone knew who belonged to who. It was in the way they walked. The way they stood together in the yard. The way others moved aside when they passed. Mike learned this on his first day. Mike was from Chicago. He had been living in Germany for work when things went wrong. A fight. A bad choice. Now he was here, standing in a line of new arrivals with his hands shaking behind his back. A tall inmate named John leaned close and spoke softly. "Don't stare," John said. "And don't talk to guards too much." Mike nodded. "Why?" he asked. John didn't answer. He just pointed with his chin. Across the room, a small group of inmates stood perfectly still. They didn't laugh. They didn't move. Others gave them space without being told. "That's why," John said. Mike understood. Power didn't shout here. It watched. Days passed. Then weeks. Life inside Tegel moved in a strange rhythm. Mornings were loud. Metal doors. Shouting counts. Footsteps. Afternoons slowed down. Nights were the worst. At night, whispers traveled faster than light. Mike heard stories. He heard about hidden phones. About guards who looked the other way. About deals made in the laundry room. About men who broke rules and were punished, not by guards, but by other inmates. One night, an inmate named Alex didn't return to his cell after work duty. The guards searched. They locked down one wing. They questioned everyone. They found Alex hours later in the shower area. Hurt. Silent. Eyes empty. No one said a word. The next morning, life continued as if nothing had happened. That was a low moment. Quiet. Cold. Controlled. Then came a high. 2 weeks later, the yard exploded. It started with shouting. Then fists. Then chaos. Inmates ran in every direction. Guards rushed in late. Someone threw a bench. Someone else used a lock in a sock. Mike was pushed to the ground. He covered his head and waited for pain. It ended as fast as it started. Sirens. Orders. Men face down on concrete. That night, Tegel went into lockdown. Cells stayed closed. Meals came late. Guards were tense. Rumors spread. "They're testing the walls," someone said. "No," another whispered. "They're testing the guards." The lockdown lifted after 3 days. Nothing officially changed. But everyone felt it. The gangs were pushing harder. Mike noticed guards walking in pairs now. Some stopped making eye contact. Others were stricter, almost angry, as if trying to prove something. One guard, Officer Smith, still talked like a human. "Keep your head down," he told Mike quietly one morning. "This place is changing." Mike wanted to ask how. But Officer Smith walked away too fast. Weeks passed again. Low moments. High moments. Low, long nights. Stale food. Boredom that made men angry over nothing. High, another fight. This one inside a workshop. Tools were locked down after that. 3 inmates were moved to isolation. No names were given. Then came the unexplained lockdown. No fight. No alarm. No warning. One afternoon, every door closed at once. Guards didn't explain. Announcements never came. The lockdown lasted 12 hours. In that time, Mike heard scratching in the walls. He heard tapping, like someone sending a message. He heard voices through vents, calm and sure. "They're ready," someone said. "For what?" another asked. "For the night," came the reply. When doors finally opened, nothing looked different. But Mike noticed something small. One of the cameras in his hallway now faced the wall. He told Officer Smith. Smith looked. Swore under his breath. Then said, "Stay in your cell tonight." That night, Mike couldn't sleep. He sat on his bunk, listening. At 1:50 a.m., the tapping started again. At 2:10 a.m., someone laughed. At 2:17 a.m., the lights went out. And this time, the darkness didn't feel accidental. From his cell, Mike heard running. He heard keys. He heard a voice call out a name. "John." Then a heavy sound. A body hitting the floor. Mike's door rattled. Someone tried the handle. Then they were gone. When the lights finally returned, guards flooded the hall. They shouted orders. They counted heads again and again. One number didn't match. John's cell was empty. No blood. No signs. No explanation. Just a missing man inside one of Germany's most secure prisons. As the guards argued and radios crackled, Mike sat on his bunk, heart pounding. Because he remembered John's warning from day one. And he knew this night was not the end. It was the beginning of something much worse. When morning came, the prison felt smaller. Not quieter. Not calmer. Smaller. Guards stood at every corner. Radios never stopped talking. Boots moved fast, then stopped, then moved again. The air felt tight, like everyone was holding their breath at the same time. John was still missing. That alone broke every rule Mike thought he understood. People did not just disappear inside a prison. Cells were searched again. Beds lifted. Walls tapped. Drain covers opened. Nothing. No blood. No broken door. No camera footage. Just an empty space where a man had been. The guards said very little. When they did speak, their words were short and sharp. "Back in your cell. Eyes forward." No talking. But prisoners talk even when they are silent. They talk with looks. With pauses. With who sits next to who in the yard. And the message moved fast. John wasn't taken by guards. John was taken by inmates. Mike felt sick. John had been careful. John knew the rules. John had warned others. If someone like him could vanish, then no one was safe. The prison went into another lockdown that same day. This one was different. Food came cold. Showers were cancelled. Lights stayed on all night. Sleep became impossible. Mike lay awake, counting footsteps in the hallway. Every sound felt closer than it was. Every shadow felt like a person standing just outside his door. On the second night, Officer Smith stopped by. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at Mike through the bars. "Did John say anything to you?" he asked. Mike hesitated. Saying the wrong thing could ruin everything. "He said to keep my head down," Mike replied. Smith nodded slowly. "That was good advice," he said. Then he lowered his voice. "This place is not what it looks like on paper." Before Mike could ask more, Smith walked away. That was a low moment. Quiet. Heavy. Confusing. The next day brought a high. The yard reopened for 1 hour. Men poured out like they had been underwater. Some stretched. Some laughed too loud. Others didn't move at all. Mike stayed near the wall. Across the yard, groups formed quickly. Not random. Never random. One group stood near the weights. Another near the fence. They didn't mix. They watched each other. Then someone shouted. It wasn't angry. It wasn't scared. It was a warning. Fights broke out in 3 places at once. This time it wasn't fists. It was planned. Guards rushed in, but they were slow. Too slow. Someone went down hard. Someone else didn't get back up right away. Mike ducked behind a bench as chaos filled the yard. Orders were shouted. Sirens screamed. When it ended, 5 men were taken away. None of them were leaders. That mattered. Back in his cell, Mike understood something new. The gangs weren't fighting to win. They were fighting to distract. That night, another strange thing happened. Mike heard movement above his ceiling. Soft. Careful. Then a piece of paper slid under his door. It had only 4 words written on it. John broke the rule. Mike stared at the paper for a long time. What rule? Talking to guards? Refusing orders? Knowing too much? The next few days were quiet again. Too quiet. Work details resumed. Meals came on time. Guards relaxed just a little. Low moments returned. Men played cards. Some joked. Some stared into nothing. But Mike noticed changes. Certain inmates no longer showed up to meals. Some guards switched shifts suddenly. Doors that used to open on time now opened late. And then there was the laundry room. Mike had work duty there twice a week. It was loud, hot, and full of steam. Guards hated it because they couldn't see everything. That's where he saw it. A guard handed something small to an inmate. Fast. Hidden. Clean. Mike looked away. That night, someone new moved into the cell across from him. His name was Eric. Eric didn't smile. He didn't ask questions. He just sat on his bunk and watched. You knew John, Eric said finally. Mike felt his chest tighten. Everyone knew John, Mike replied. Eric nodded. Then you should know this place runs on silence. What happens if you break it? Mike asked. Eric leaned forward. You disappear, he said. Another low moment. Another warning. Days passed. Then came the lockdown that made no sense. No fights. No alarms. No reason given. Cells closed at noon and stayed closed. By nightfall, Mike heard shouting from another wing. Not fighting. Arguing. Then a guard screamed. Then nothing. Lights stayed on. Doors stayed shut. At 2 a.m., Mike smelled smoke again. Not thick. Not strong. Just enough. At 2:15 a.m., the power flickered. Once. Twice. Mike stood up. Then the alarms went off, this time screaming loud enough to shake the walls. Guards ran. Keys clashed. Someone pounded on metal, begging to be let out. Mike backed away from his door. Through the noise, he heard a calm voice speaking close by. They're moving him now. Then the lights died again. But this time, they didn't come back quickly. In the darkness, Mike heard a door open that should never open during lockdown. And someone whispered his name. Mike. His heart stopped. The whisper came again, closer. Don't make a sound. And just as footsteps rushed toward his cell from both ends of the hallway, Mike realized something terrifying. John was gone. And now, someone else was about to be taken.